One of the most common complaints about antinatalism is that it's just a subjective, depression-induced viewpoint that distorts the way we see reality, and therefore no better than a natalist coming up with subjective arguments to support their point of view. Although the depressed antinatalist argument has already been beat to death in many debates in the past, people still use it as a way of trying to undermine the validity of antinatalism. I have been told more than once that antinatalists suffer from a form of high-functioning depression, and that colors their perception of the world, making them focus too much on the negative aspects of existence. It's said that people suffering from high-functioning depression can continue to have relatively normal lives, but they seem to live with this dark cloud of despondency that seems to follow them around, constantly giving them a dark, rainy day outlook on life. I don't think any psychologist would disagree that a person's emotional state can greatly influence their outlook on life and their worldview. But if you're going to use that argument to shoot down the ideas of antinatalism, then one could just as easily say that excessive positive thinking is also unreliable and destructive. It's true that antinatalists sometimes focus on the darker realities of life, but not all antinatalists suffer from depression. Many antinatalists live quite normal lives. It's just that they have come to the realization that pulling new life into this world is never worth the price that's paid. I would even argue that if coming to understand the nature of life and the futility and absurdity of it causes a person to live with some level of despondency, then they are quite justified for feeling that way. It's also been pointed out by a few that most people don't come to the conclusion that they should have never been born, and are just happy to go on living their lives despite all the struggles and pain that life brings, and not all of them need to lean on the crutch of theism to achieve that perspective. That may be so, but just because some people have learned to cope with life in their own unique ways doesn't justify bringing more people into the world on the off chance that they might actually like it. There are many people in the world, self included, that don't find living in this world very appealing. The more one learns about life, the more you realize what a cruel, sick joke it actually is, and many people don't want to have to use some sort of self-delusion to get through life. It's like when we're all born, we have this disgusting sardine and vomit-flavored lemon meringue pie shoved in our mouths that we never asked for and never wanted. Then we have to spend the rest of our lives trying to come to terms with it in whatever way we can, just to be able to get up in the morning. Most people often learn to try and make the best of whatever situation they find themselves in, which is why there is no shortage of reasons and excuses to try and justify all of the pain that life brings. It's kind of like a victim trying to justify a crime that was done to them so they can go on living despite all they went through. Which is why I see bringing a new baby into the world as a crime being committed. Regardless if the kid has had a bad childhood or not, they're still a victim of a crime. When people say things like, well, if you don't like life, then why don't you just go kill yourself? It shows just how much they don't get it. Ending one's own life doesn't address the problem of someone being put into that position in the first place. Even if that one individual's life ends, many more new babies will be born to grow up and be put into similar situations, and the cycle of suffering keeps continuing, on and on. Life is often bad enough to deal with on its own, and now with all the craziness that's been going on since 2020 started, from worldwide pathogens to economic recessions and protests, things just continue to get crazier. Yet natalists still somehow believe that everything will be okay. And making more babies is a great idea. A coworker of mine was recently celebrating the fact that she's pregnant, and was telling me and everyone else how she couldn't wait to be a mom. I smiled and congratulated her, but deep down all I wanted to do was slam my head against the top of the microwave repeatedly out of frustration. But I didn't, because the microwave didn't deserve that. You know, I never really understood why people have to be congratulated when they tell you they're pregnant. The whole thing seems nonsensical to me. All you did was lay down and get yourself knocked up. Why should you be congratulated for that?
I can't help but feel sad for children being born right now. Despite all the optimism there is, it doesn't look like the world is going to be better anytime soon. If anything, it's going to get worse, even crazier. And in an insane world, antinatalism is the sanest choice. Thanks for watching, and be safe out there.